On the morning of April 18, 1955, Albert Einstein spoke his final words. They were in German. The only person in the room was his night nurse. She didn't speak German. Those words are lost forever. But I'm going to tell you something that changes everything. Einstein didn't need to speak his final words for us to know exactly what he believed awaited him after death, because just 28 days earlier, he had written it all down in a letter that would become one of the most important documents in the history of physics and philosophy. That letter was written to the family of his closest friend, Michael Besso, and what Einstein said in that letter reveals something about death that most people just can't accept, something that contradicts almost everything we've been taught, something that suggests what awaits you after you die is not what you expect. Let me take you back to March 1955. Einstein was 76 years old. He had been living with a time bomb ticking for 7 years. In 1948, surgeons had discovered an abdominal aortic aneurysm. They reinforced it as best they could, but they told Einstein the truth. It could rupture at any moment. When it did, he would die. Most people would have spent those 7 years in fear. Most people would have prayed. Most people would have desperately searched for meaning, for reassurance, for some promise that death wasn't the end. Einstein did none of these things. He continued to work. He continued to think. He continued to search for the unified field theory that had eluded him for decades. And when friends expressed concern about his health, Einstein would wave them away with a phrase that has become legendary. "I want to go when I want. It is tasteless to prolong life artificially. I have done my share. It is time to go. I will do it elegantly." Do you understand what Einstein was saying? He wasn't afraid of death, but it wasn't because he believed in the pearly gates. It wasn't because he thought his soul would survive. It was because of something he had discovered through physics itself, something that most people, even most physicists, still don't fully understand. Let me tell you about Michael Besso. He was Einstein's closest friend for over 50 years. They met as young students in Zurich, Switzerland in the 1890s. Besso was the person Einstein would talk to when he was working through his most difficult ideas. Einstein called him the best sounding board in Europe for scientific ideas. It was Besso who introduced Einstein to the works of Ernst Mach, the philosopher who would influence Einstein's approach to physics. It was Besso who listened patiently as Einstein struggled with the concepts that would become special relativity. When Einstein published his famous 1905 paper on special relativity, the only person he thanked was Michael Besso. For 50 years, they exchanged letters. They discussed physics, philosophy, politics, and life. Besso was one of the few people who truly understood how Einstein thought. And Einstein was one of the few people who could tolerate Besso's eccentricities. On March 15, 1955, Michael Besso died. He was 81 years old. Einstein received the news at his home in Princeton, New Jersey, and 6 days later, on March 21st, he sat down to write a letter to Besso's family. This letter has been analyzed by scholars for decades because what Einstein wrote in those few paragraphs reveals more about his understanding of death than anything else he ever said or wrote. Now he has departed from this strange world, just a bit before me. That signifies nothing. For us, physicists who truly get it, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Read those words again. Einstein wasn't offering empty comfort. He wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was making a statement about the actual nature of reality based on his own scientific discoveries. And that statement has implications that most people find impossible to accept. What Einstein was saying is that time itself is an illusion, not in some vague spiritual sense, but in a precise, physical, mathematical sense. According to the theory of relativity that Einstein himself had developed, the universe doesn't work the way we think it does. The past isn't gone. The future isn't yet to come. They exist simultaneously, eternally, in a structure that physicists call the block universe. Let me explain what this means. Imagine the universe not as a movie that plays from beginning to end, but as a film reel. The entire reel exists at once. The beginning, the middle, the end, all of it is there. The projector moves through the reel, creating the illusion that events are happening in sequence, but the events themselves are not sequential. They are all equally real, all equally present, all equally eternal. This is not mysticism. This is physics. This is what the equations of relativity actually describe. Einstein knew this better than anyone because he discovered it. And when his closest friend died, Einstein found comfort not in religious promises, but in scientific truth. Besso wasn't gone. Besso still existed. The moments they had shared together were not lost in the past. Those moments were as real and as present as the moment Einstein was writing the letter. The distinction between past, present, and future was only an illusion, a stubbornly persistent illusion, Einstein called it, but an illusion nonetheless. Now let me tell you something that complicates this beautiful picture. Einstein did not believe in personal survival after death. He was very clear about this throughout his life. In fact, some of his statements on the subject are almost brutal in their honesty. Neither can I, nor would I want to conceive of an individual that survives his physical death. Let feeble souls, from fear or absurd egoism, cherish such thoughts. Einstein wrote this in his essay called My View of the World. It was published in 1931. He never changed his position. In another letter from 1921, Einstein wrote something even more direct. Since our inner experiences consist of reproductions and combinations of sensory impressions, the concept of a soul without a body seems to me to be empty and devoid of meaning. So, what was Einstein saying in the letter to Besso's family? If he didn't believe in the survival of the individual soul, how could he say that Besso's departure signified nothing? This is where Einstein's understanding of reality becomes truly profound and truly difficult for most people to grasp. Einstein wasn't saying that Besso's consciousness would continue in some afterlife. He wasn't saying that Besso would be reborn. He wasn't saying that Besso's soul would go to heaven or merge with the cosmic consciousness. He was saying something far stranger and far more radical. He was saying that the very concept of going is an illusion. You can't just go anywhere because, frankly, there's nowhere to go. You can't cease to exist because you exist eternally in the block universe. The moments of your life, they're not just events that happen and then disappear. They are permanent features of the structure of reality. Think about what this really means. Every moment you've ever experienced still exists, not just in your memory, not in some spiritual realm. It actually exists right now, as part of the fabric of space-time. The moment you were born, the moment you first fell in love, even the moment you'll eventually pass away. All of these moments are equally real, equally present, equally eternal. This isn't just some belief. This isn't wishful thinking. This is what the physics says. And Einstein, he understood this better than anyone. But here's where things get really interesting. Einstein, he wasn't entirely convinced that this was the complete picture. He actually dedicated the last 30 years of his life to working on a unified field theory. He was trying to uncover a deeper level of reality, something that could explain Not just space-time, but everything. Gravity, electromagnetism, matter itself, even consciousness. Everything. But he never quite cracked the code. When he passed away, on April 18th, 1955, there were 12 pages filled with equations, sitting right there on the table next to his bed. He had asked for a pen and paper so he could keep working. Right up until his very last moments and of consciousness, Einstein was still searching for that ultimate truth about reality. So, what would that truth have revealed about death? We may never truly know. But I think I understand what Einstein was searching for. And I believe it has everything to do with what awaits us after we die. Einstein once said that there are two kinds of immortality. The first exists in the imagination of people. It's an illusion. We remember those who've passed on for a while, but eventually that memory fades. That is not true immortality. But there's only one true immortality on a cosmic scale, and that is the immortality of the cosmos itself. What did Einstein mean by this? Well, I believe he meant that we are not separate from the cosmos. We are the cosmos. The atoms that make up your body, they were forged in stars billions of years ago. The energy that animates you has existed since the very beginning of time. And the consciousness that you experience as yourself is a manifestation of something that pervades all of existence. So, when you pass away, the atoms continue, the energy continues, something continues, not the ego that you think of as yourself, not the personality with all its fears and desires and memories, but is something deeper, something that was never born and will never die, because it is the universe itself. Einstein, he expressed this in another way. He wrote about what he called cosmic religious feeling. This wasn't about belief in a personal God or faith in some afterlife. This was about the overwhelming sense of awe that comes from contemplating the mathematical elegance of existence, the feeling that there's something behind the appearances, something that human beings can dimly sense, but can never fully comprehend. This cosmic religious feeling, Einstein said, is the strongest and noblest motive for scientific research. It's what drove him to dedicate his life to studying physics. Not career ambition, not a thirst for fame, not even just ordinary curiosity, something much deeper, the religious experience of confronting the infinite. Let me tell you about Einstein's passing early in the morning of April 17th, 1955. The abdominal aortic aneurysm ruptured. Einstein knew immediately what had happened. He also knew what it meant. He was taken to Princeton Hospital in Princeton, New Jersey. The doctors offered emergency surgery. It was risky, but it might extend his life. Einstein, he refused. He told them what he had been telling everyone for years. I want to go when I want. It's tasteless to prolong life artificially. I've done my share. It's time to go. I'll do it. Elegantly. He asked for one thing, a pen and paper. He wanted to continue working on his equations. The nurses, they brought them, and for the next several hours, as his body was failing, Einstein continued to do what he had done his entire life. He thought about the universe. He wrote equations. He searched for truth. According to the people who were there, Einstein was calm, not resigned, not defeated, just calm. The way someone is calm when they know exactly where they're going, or perhaps when they know that going itself is just an illusion. At 1:15 in the morning, on April 18, 1955, Einstein spoke his final words. They were in German. His night nurse, Alberta Rosel, she was the only person in the room. She didn't speak German. She couldn't understand what he said. And then, just a few moments later, he was gone. What were Einstein's last words? We may never truly know. Some people have speculated that he was talking about his equations. Others think he was just saying goodbye. Still others believe he was expressing some final insight about the nature of reality. The truth is lost forever. But I don't think it matters, because Einstein had already told us everything we need to know in that letter to Michael Besso's family, in his essays and interviews, in his scientific papers. He'd spent his entire life telling us what awaits us after death. We just weren't ready to listen. So let me tell you what I think Einstein truly understood about death. It's something so profound that most people just can't accept it. Most people don't want to accept it because it requires giving up everything we think we know about ourselves and our place in the universe. Here's what Einstein understood. You are not what you think you are. You are not a separate being moving through time from birth to death. You are not a consciousness trapped in a body that will eventually fail. You are something much stranger, much larger, much more permanent. You are a pattern in the fabric of space-time, a four-dimensional structure that extends from the moment of your birth to the moment of your passing. Every experience you've ever had, every thought, every feeling, every moment of joy and sorrow and love and fear, all of it exists eternally. All of it is real, right now, forever. When you die, you don't go anywhere. The pattern doesn't disappear. The pattern is permanent. What changes is only the boundary of the pattern. The final moment arrives, but that final moment doesn't erase all the other moments. They continue to exist. They will always exist because existence itself doesn't depend on time. Time is just our way of experiencing a reality that is fundamentally eternal. This is hard to understand. Our brains evolved to navigate a world where time flows from past to future, where things come into being and then pass away, where death is the end. Our brains did not evolve to comprehend the block universe. They didn't evolve to grasp the idea that past, present, and future are all equally real. But Einstein's brain was different, not because it was structured differently. Scientists have studied Einstein's brain extensively and found nothing that would explain his genius. Einstein's brain was different because he trained it to think in ways that human brains are not naturally designed to think. He forced himself to imagine what the universe would look like from the perspective of a photon traveling at the speed of light. And what he discovered changed everything. From the perspective of light, time does not pass. A photon that left a distant star millions of years ago experiences its entire journey as instantaneous. The departure and the arrival are the same moment. The millions of years in between do not exist. Time is literally an illusion created by the fact that we are not traveling at the speed of light. This is not poetry. This is physics. This is what the equations say. And Einstein understood it at a level that few humans have ever achieved. So, when Einstein wrote that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion, He was not offering comfort. He was stating a scientific fact, a fact that has implications for death, that most people have never considered. If time is an illusion, then death is also an illusion, not the physical process. That is real. Your body stops working. Your neurons stop firing. The pattern of electrical activity that we call consciousness ceases. That is real. But the idea that death is the end, the idea that when you die, you stop existing, that is the illusion. You do not stop existing when you die. The pattern that was you continues to exist eternally in the block universe. The moments of your life are not erased. They are permanent features of reality, and they will be permanent features of reality forever. This is what Einstein believed. This is what he wrote to Michael Besso's family. This is what allowed him to face his own death with such extraordinary calm. But I need to tell you something else, something that complicates this picture in ways that Einstein himself acknowledged. Einstein did not know if consciousness survives death. He did not know if the eternal existence of your pattern in the block universe means anything for your subjective experience. The physics tells us that all moments of time are equally real, but it does not tell us what that means for the experience of being alive. Think about it this way. Right now, in this moment, you are conscious. You are experiencing something. But what about the moment 5 minutes ago? That moment still exists in the block universe. It is as real as this moment. But are you experiencing it right now, or is experience something that only happens in the present, even if the present is an illusion? Einstein did not have an answer to this question. Neither do we. It is one of the deepest mysteries in all of philosophy and physics. The problem of consciousness, the hard problem, as philosophers call it. How does subjective experience arise from physical processes? And what happens to that experience when the physical processes stop? Some physicists have speculated that consciousness is fundamental to the universe, that it is not something that emerges from matter, but something that matter emerges from. If this is true, then death might not end consciousness at all. Consciousness might continue in some form that we cannot imagine, because consciousness was never dependent on the brain in the first place. Einstein was open to this possibility. He wrote about his sense that there is something behind the physical world, something that we can dimly perceive, but never fully understand. He called it cosmic religious feeling. Others have called it mysticism, but Einstein insisted it was not mysticism. It was the recognition that reality is far stranger and far more wonderful than our everyday experience suggests. Let me tell you what I think awaits you after death, not as scientific fact. Science does not know the answer, but as a synthesis of what Einstein discovered and what the deepest philosophical traditions have always taught. When you die, the ego dies. The personality you think of as yourself, the collection of memories and habits and fears and desires, that dies. It was never real anyway. It was a construction, a story your brain told itself to navigate the world. When the brain stops, the story ends. But something else does not die. The moments of your life remain. Every experience you have ever had is eternally real. And whatever consciousness is, whatever that mysterious quality of subjective experience is, it cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. Einstein refused surgery because he understood this. He was not afraid because there was nothing to be afraid of. The universe is not a hostile place where we are born and die and disappear into nothing. The universe is a place where every moment is eternal and every experience is forever. This is what Einstein's final words were about. Even though we do not know what he said, he had spent his entire life understanding the universe, and at the end, he knew more about death than anyone who has ever lived. What awaits you after death? The same thing that awaits you now. the eternal reality of your existence in the fabric of space-time, the permanent record of every moment you have ever lived. The cosmic truth that the distinction between life and death, like the distinction between past and future, is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Einstein died on April 18, 1955, but according to his own understanding of reality, Einstein did not die. Einstein exists eternally. Every moment of his life is as real now as it was then. His conversation with Michael Besso in 1905, his discovery of relativity, his letter to Michael Besso's family, his final words in German that no one understood, all of it exists. All of it is real. All of it will be real forever. The same is true for you. The same will be true for you. When your final moment arrives, you will not disappear. You will not be erased. You will simply reach the boundary of your pattern in the fabric of space-time. And everything you were, everything you experienced, everything you loved and feared and wondered about will remain eternally, unchangeably. Really, this is what awaits you after death, according to Einstein, according to physics, according to the deepest truth we have ever discovered about the nature of reality. Now you know. I want to leave you with one final thought. Einstein was asked many times throughout his life whether he was afraid of death. His answer was always the same: no, he was not afraid. He did not fear what awaited him, because he understood that the question itself was based on a misunderstanding. There is no what awaits you after death, because after is an illusion. There is only existence, eternal, unchanging, mathematical existence, and you are already part of it. You have always been part of it. You will always be part of it. This is the message Einstein left for us, not in his final words, which were lost, but in his life's work, in his equations, in his letters, in his refusal to be comforted by religious fairy tales or terrified by materialist nihilism. Einstein found a third way, a way that honors both scientific truth and the profound mystery of consciousness, a way that allows us to face death not with fear, not with denial, but with understanding. The universe is stranger than you imagine, more beautiful than you imagine, more permanent than you imagine, and you are not separate from it. You never were. You never will be. You are the universe experiencing itself, and that experience is eternal. Einstein knew this. He lived this. He died this way, calmly, elegantly, asking only for a pen and paper so he could continue exploring the mystery until his final breath. What awaits you after death is what has always awaited you, the eternal reality of existence, the permanent truth of who you really are, not the ego that fears death, not the personality that craves survival, but the pattern in the fabric of reality that is as real as any star, any galaxy, any equation that describes the cosmos. This is Einstein's final message. This is what his lost words would have told us if we could have understood them. This is the truth he spent his entire life discovering, and now it is yours. But there is one more thing I need to tell you, something that Einstein himself struggled with until the end of his life. If the block universe is real, if all moments exist eternally, then what about choice? What about free will? What about the feeling that we are making decisions that shape our future? Einstein believed in determinism. He believed that every event in the universe, including every human decision, is the inevitable result of prior causes. The universe unfolds according to fixed laws. There is no randomness, no chance, no freedom. This is why Einstein said God does not play dice with the universe, not as a statement about God, but as a statement about the nature of reality. This troubled Einstein, not because he doubted the physics, but because he could not reconcile it with his moral intuitions. If everything is determined, then how can we hold people responsible for their actions? If Michael Besso's death was inevitable from the beginning of time, then what does it mean to grieve? Einstein never fully resolved this tension, but he found a kind of peace with it. He accepted that the universe is what it is, not what we wish it to be. He accepted that our feelings of freedom and choice might be illusions, just like our feelings about time. And he accepted that acceptance itself was the only response that made sense. This is perhaps the most difficult part of Einstein's message, not just that time is an illusion, not just that death is not the end, but that our entire sense of who we are and what we are doing is fundamentally mistaken. We are not agents making choices. We are patterns unfolding according to laws we cannot control. For some people, this is a terrifying thought. It means we have no control over our lives. It means everything is already determined. It means free will is just another stubbornly persistent illusion. But for Einstein, it was liberating. He wrote about feeling such solidarity with everything alive that it does not seem important where the individual begins and ends. If we are all part of the same cosmic pattern, if we are all unfolding according to the same eternal laws, then the boundaries between us become meaningless. We are not separate beings competing for survival. We are the universe experiencing itself in an infinite variety of forms. This is what death reveals, not the end of existence, but the illusory nature of separation. When you die, you do not leave the universe. How could you leave something you were never separate from? You simply stop experiencing the illusion of being a separate self. The pattern that was, you merges back into the infinite pattern that is everything. Einstein understood this, and understanding it allowed him to face death not just without fear, but with a kind of cosmic joy. The joy of returning home. The joy of realizing that home was never somewhere else. The joy of knowing that the journey and the destination were always the same thing. This is what awaits you after death, not the pearly gates, not hell, not reincarnation, not oblivion, something far more strange and far more wonderful, the dissolution of an illusion, the recognition of what you always were, the eternal reality of your existence in a universe that is nothing but existence. Einstein's nurse did not understand his final words, but perhaps that is fitting. The truth Einstein discovered cannot be captured in words. It can only be experienced. It can only be lived. It can only be faced with the same calm and elegance that Einstein brought to his own final moments. He did his share, he was ready to go, and he went, as he promised, elegantly. The question is not what awaits you after death. The question is whether you are ready to understand the answer. Einstein was ready. He spent his entire life becoming ready. He studied physics not because he wanted fame or success, but because he wanted to understand reality, and at the end, he understood. Now it is your turn to understand. Now it is your turn to face the truth that Einstein discovered. Now it is your turn to recognize that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. And when you truly understand this, death will no longer be something to fear. It will be what it always was, just another moment in the eternal pattern of existence. Einstein's final words are lost, but his message survives, and that message is simple. You are eternal. You have always been eternal. You will always be eternal, not as a separate self that survives death, but as the pattern you are in the fabric of reality itself. That pattern is as real as anything in the universe, and it will be real forever. This is what Einstein knew. This is what he tried to tell us. This is what awaits you.